You know those moments when you're just flowing, when you're so caught up in what you're doing that you forget to think about who you are or how you're coming across? Those moments when you're just alive? Now, think about the opposite. Those times when you're hyper aware of every move you make, every word you say, constantly checking if you're being authentic enough, true to yourself enough. Exhausting, isn't it? 796 letters. That's how many times Vincent van Gogh wrote to his brother, desperately trying to understand himself. Every feeling, every thought, every brushstroke. He did exactly what we're all told to do today. He practiced radical self-awareness, and it nearly destroyed him. Van Gogh filled thousands of pages, analyzing his emotions, his art, his purpose. He was doing what every modern self-help book, every therapist, every guru tells us to do. He was being deeply, intensely self-aware. But his most breathtaking masterpieces, the ones that would change art forever, weren't created during these periods of intense self-analysis. They came when he lost himself completely in the pure act of painting, when he stopped trying to understand his art and simply let the colors of Arles flow through him. This isn't just about art. This pattern shows up everywhere, even in the world of technology and business. Take Steve Jobs. Everyone knows about his triumphant return to Apple, but few people talk about why he actually succeeded the second time around. In his first run at Apple, Jobs was paralyzed by his own self-image. He was so caught up in being Steve Jobs, the tech visionary, the revolutionary, that he couldn't just lead. Every decision was filtered through this lens of, is this what Steve Jobs would do? It was only after losing everything, after being humiliatingly fired from his own company, that something shifted. During his time at Pixar, when he wasn't trying to be anyone, he made some of his most brilliant moves. Why? Because he stopped analyzing and started creating. This says something about success and fulfillment. Sometimes understanding yourself is exactly what's holding you back. Let's bring it to our own lives. When are you most charming? Is it when you're analyzing your social skills or when you're lost in genuine conversation? I believe it's the latter. When are you most creative? Not when you're questioning your process, but when you're immersed in the work. When are you happiest? Not when you're checking in with your emotions, but when you're fully engaged in something meaningful. There's actually a term for this in psychology, paralysis by analysis. When Olympic athletes think too much about their technique during crucial moments, they choke. When musicians become too aware of their fingers during a performance, they stumble. The more we monitor ourselves, the less naturally we flow. The answer isn't to abandon self-awareness entirely, it's to understand its proper place. Think of it like a microscope. Incredibly powerful, but you don't walk around with it pressed to your eye all day. So how do we break free? It starts with a radical shift. Create more than you analyze. How many journals have you filled analyzing your life? How many hours have you spent thinking about who you are, what you want, what's holding you back? Van Gogh's letters didn't make him immortal, his paintings did. When you're stuck in analysis mode, your energy goes into understanding the problem instead of solving it. Set yourself a new rule. For every hour you spend reflecting, spend 3 hours doing. When you feel stuck, stop maybe crying about being stuck and how you're always like this and so on. Instead, try create something, anything. Next, let go of your identity. We're so busy trying to be authentic that we forget to be effective. Stop asking, is this authentic to who I am? And start asking, is this helpful? Let go of that carefully constructed self-image. It's probably outdated anyway. Your identity isn't something you find, it's something you prove through action. Think of self-awareness like a map. You need it, but you don't walk around with your face buried in it all day. That's what too many of us are doing. Constantly checking our emotional GPS instead of actually moving forward. Give yourself 5 minutes to think about a problem, even better if it's about you. If you can't solve it by thinking in those 5 minutes, you don't need more analysis, you need action. Notice when you lose track of time? That's your compass pointing toward growth. These flow states are telling you this is where the magic happens. Build your life around these moments. When you find yourself forgetting to monitor yourself, you're probably onto something important. But the ultimate paradox, true confidence doesn't come from understanding yourself better. It comes from forgetting yourself entirely. It comes from being so focused on something bigger than yourself that you don't have time for self-doubt. Instead of asking, how am I doing? Start asking, what needs doing? Van Gogh found himself in those colors of Arles. Jobs found himself in building beautiful things, not through analysis, but through action. Not through understanding, but through creating. Your truest self isn't waiting to be discovered through endless analysis. It's waiting to be created through action. It emerges precisely when you stop looking for it, when you're so engaged in something meaningful that you forget to monitor yourself. Maybe it's time we all got a little less self-aware and a little more live.